why the idea didn't take off. Morning guys, we are back on the world's first off-road gooseneck. A lot of people took issue with that, but if you've got proof, I want to see a link. I want to see a video. I want to see a picture. This thing is going to be awesome. What we've got is a gooseneck that's going to attach to the top of the Comanche, and it's going to be able to do a 360-degree pivot underneath there. It's going to be great. The first thing we need to do today, we're going to work on getting this thing connected. So these are just temporary. We're going to pull these out, build some goosenecks. So the first thing we need to do is get the Comanche over here underneath it so we can kind of mock everything up. You got anything to add?
Off-road gooseneck. It's not the world's first gooseneck trailer, and it's not the world's first off-road trailer. Off-road gooseneck.
I think a lot of people didn't understand that or didn't know what a gooseneck was, but also I'm sure somebody's off-roaded a gooseneck, but this is a serious off-road gooseneck, and it can do a 360-degree just like the Volkswagen. Yes, in the very first video, in the very first 1 minute of the video, I talked about the Volkswagen gooseneck prototype that they never actually made, but it was really cool, and yes, that's what we're going off of if you missed it.
I have two ideas, and I don't know if you'll like either one of them.
They sound like bad ideas.
No, they're good ideas. One, I think we should roll the tubes.
Sounds like a bad idea.
Because it's stronger and it's cooler, and they really liked it when we rolled the tubes on Bumble.
You're getting paid by the hour? Alright, let's get this Comanche in here.
See how sharp that thing does not turn? That's going to be interesting doing a 360 underneath this trailer. You're going to need a football field. The Scorpion would do it no problem, but it'll be fun trying to do it in this thing. Our end point's definitely going to have to be up higher than the top of the trailer, because that does not clear.
It's actually not bad.
It's not bad.
If you're up and the trailer's down, there's still quite a bit of...
Yeah.
Alright, we've been discussing. Here's what we got to do first. First, we got to make the pivot point for the gooseneck ball. This is our gooseneck ball. It's not a ball, but we talked about this in the previous video. That's going to be what holds the trailer in place. To get that in the middle of this, we're going to use these clamps from Barnes. They clamp onto an 1 3/4 tube, like so. And I've only got one, but we're gonna scavenge this one from the chainsaw holder that I made until I can buy some more. So we're gonna have one here, one over there. We're gonna have a tube going across and a tube going back. And on that tube going back, we're gonna have 2 tabs, and it'll just get bolted there. Then we'll put a plate over that, and this will get mounted into that plate. So let's try to make this right now.
Before you say, why don't we just do another tube clamp back here? One, we don't have one right now, and we're trying to build right now because we have no patience. And 2, this doesn't fit because of the light. So tab.
Gotta make sure to angle these straight back so that whenever that unclamps, it'll just be able to pull straight forward, because you gotta remember you have one on each side. If you were to weld it in the wrong position, it would just get locked on there forever.
And you can't get to the bolts.
It would be so much easier if the bolts all came in from one side rather than both sides.
Oh, they don't?
I'm gonna petition Barnes to do that.
Oh, well then I guess that wouldn't be an issue if it was angled back. You could still get to them.
Well, the problem is, if you've got a tube welded here, it's really hard
to get
the bolts in there.
Let's build it.
Alright. We're slowly sneaking up on this. It's actually not too bad. This will come in a little bit though. Here we go to the next one. Alright, so here's what we've got. We've got these 2 clamps, and then we've got this bar. It's got a bend on it because it just came from the scrap pile, but it's also going to help us elevate this just slightly so that we can have enough room, if you hold that there, for the ball not to hit the roof. We're going to take this ball and we're going to put it right behind this tube here. We're also going to add another tube here that goes to the back of the cage with a clamp, and that'll just add some extra support. Have 3 points of contact and should be strong enough for what we're doing. Got it marked. Alright, check this out. We got a tab. Okay. What else you got? We got this thing notched. There's this piece that's going to get welded there. And then this piece drops in, gets bolted there. Now I just got to weld that up and we'll be good to start working on that guy. Alright, before we weld a tongue onto this thing, what I want to do is make sure that it's perfectly straight in line with the Jeep. Actually, it doesn't need to be in line, it just needs to be pointed at the ball. And I think to do that, what we can do is take this laser level, and this is just a cheap laser level off Amazon, probably like 50 bucks or something. So for those, I heard a couple people say that they don't have the kind of money to buy fancy equipment like this. It's really not that fancy. But what we're going to do is put this on the Jeep. We'll line it up to that ball on the top of the other Jeep. I should start calling this the trailer, not the Jeep. We'll line it up to the ball on the Jeep. Okay. So if we put this here, turn this to that, and then if we line this line down the middle of the Jeep. Is it in the way? You can go back,
pretty close.
Back further if you want. So if we line that line up down the middle of the Jeep, and then we'll just have to move the Jeep, the trailer. We'll have to move the Jeep trailer until it lines up with that hole before we start building the gooseneck. The reason we want to do that is because if we built the gooseneck right here, it would be all cattywampus.
You don't want your wampus in your cat.
You got crosshairs right on your chest there.
I got a stripe right in my eye.
You got a big target on your back. Okay, is that good? Close enough?
Close enough.
Well, I'll get in the middle. Okay, now we're over here on the Jeep. The laser is right here. Can you guys see that? Okay, hold on. That's close. All that matters is that it's pointed at this hole. And that's it. That's perfect right there. Alright, this is going to be interesting. We got this bent. Now we have to try to shove it in there. But it's really long. It's 15 foot long. Maybe if we shove it in downward like that. That works pretty good. Okay, looks pretty crazy right now, but it's going to angle inward. And then it's going to level off. And then it's going to come back down. So that looks pretty good so far. Alright guys, check it out. We've got bend, bend, bend. And then it drops down right onto that ball there. So that is going to be our gooseneck, sort of. That's one side of it. And then we're going to have a bottom one coming up from here. And then we're going to make like a little ladder bar thing. But that's what we got going now. What we need to do next is get this thing to have a plate on it. So I think what we'll do is we'll have a plate that bolts onto this out of that big 3/8 thick plate that we had somewhere. I don't know where it went. That'll be our welding point. So we'll make like a big square plate, and then we'll be able to weld as the tubes come in. They'll weld to that, and that'll be the neck of the trailer. Did you put it back already?
Yep.
Okay, so we need something about like that. Here, 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 and here. Something like that. That's if we were perfect tubing benders.
Yeah, I think we're already above. We're above that.
We made a slight boo-boo on our first one, and if you do that, you can just cut it and sleeve it, and then you can turn it. I accidentally made that 90 degrees off of where it should have been. So we just turned it 90 degrees, put a sleeve in there. If we have to, we could do that up there. It ends up being stronger than the actual tube itself because it's double wall. So it's not really a strength issue, it's just a pain in the butt. But if we had to do that to land perfectly, we could do it again right there. But yeah, let's cut out something like that. Here's a little handy trick. Sometimes you'll have a hole that's too small to get down all the way to the bottom with your Sharpie or your pencil. They make these long nose pens you can buy. Got these on Amazon. It's called a long nib marker, but it's handy for doing stuff like this.
What's that say?
That says long nib marker. They also make, what's the name of those punches that go through and exactly center it?
Drift.
Is it called a drift punch?
Maybe.
Hole punch?
No.
I don't know. We have some.
Centering punch.
Centering punch, that's what it's called. Think we should cut some height off of that or leave it for now? We're gonna try.
We could have some
might as
height
well.
and gusset.
Yeah, let's leave it there for now. Yeah, we want to see if you can stick it in the lawn. You're gonna bust that window. Should I cut these holes or should we drill them? Might as well cut them. It'll be ugly, but it'll be a lot faster. Okay, see if it fits. Go in your home!
It's close.
Tight fit. Alright, check it out. That's what we got. Now, we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it up here. Still haven't figured out this thing. Push down there. There we go. Now we gotta put this up. Angle this in just the right way that it lands there. Cut it and weld it. Super simple, right?
Absolutely.
How much of a caster do we want on that thing? Maybe like that. Start off with it tall in case we miss.
Yeah.
Something like that. If it goes down further, the angle is more steep.
We'll make that work one way or another. It'll work.
We better cut it a little long then.
This thing bends.
And this thing keeps on rotating down.
This is why we work with metal and not wood.
Let's cut it about 1 inch long.
Okay.
Because I think we're gonna wish we had.
That's
a big inch.
That is a big inch. It's not where we wanted it. I think that's actually not bad.
I have to do. All right, guys. We were looking at this thing, and a lot of you engineers might have caught it. But the way this was designed as an off-road trailer hitch with 3-axis movement if it's mounted horizontally. So while we were looking at this, trying to imagine in our heads how this is going to spin and pivot and rotate, I think where we messed up is this rotates this direction, but since we have this pointed up, this also rotates this direction, which kind of misses the third rotation, which is this direction. So we don't really have a this direction rotation the way this is set up. So we've been looking at trying to get this more flat again so that it'll work as designed. We've come up with a bunch of solutions, all of which are complicated because all this is already welded together. So without starting over from scratch, we're trying to make something work. And I think we have a solution, but I'm not going to bore you with that because it's just more cutting and fabrication and welding. When we actually find out what we're going to do, we'll show you the end product, right?
Right.
I think our brains are tired at this point. What that's going to mean is we're also going to have to redo this, which sucks, but maybe it'll work out because it'll lengthen this out this way and we can
Just angle this down.
I don't know, it's all
It'll work.
like I said, it's the first, but there's a lot of design, a lot of engineering that has to get done to make that pivot from the top. It would be fine if it was just on the road. That would be very simple. But being off-road, where the Jeep's doing this and the trailer's doing this, it's a lot of engineering. I was doing the coolest time lapse and the battery died. You guys missed it. I told you though that I would show you the progress that we made. So we stayed here pretty late last night. Got quite a bit done actually, and then a little bit this morning we added this tube, the second tube. We've got it tacked in, and this is what we came up with. We kind of compromised. Let me get on the other side. Kind of compromised on the angle there. So instead of being straight up and down, instead of being straight back, it's up just a tad. Leaned the pin forward a little bit. Yeah, it's not far off from being completely horizontal because this pin is leaned forward a little bit. Of course, again, we did that to get our 3 axes rotation out of this thing. We had to extend this up about 3 inches, added some washers here, and now we should have plenty of room for when this Jeep goes down and the trailer is still coming up. This thing's gonna swing down like this, but we should have plenty of clearance for that.
Get that nut tight.
Yeah, I made some flat spots on it, and then I welded the nut on the bottom, and I used a crescent wrench, the big giant crescent wrench. So we'll have to take a big giant crescent wrench in case this thing starts coming loose. Jake Berkey's calling me. Hold on, folks. That was Jake Berkey from Busted Knuckle Off-Road. We were talking rear steer 14 bolts for the Holy Grail, and that reminded me, the Holy Grail shirt, we still have a bunch left over from the off-road games, so you need to get yours right now because we're not going to be making them again. Can you see it? I can't tell if I'm in the frame. But we only have a limited quantity left, so make sure to grab those. Where were we? So got this tacked in, that's tacked in. Everything is not fully welded, but I think we can go for a test drive. Just gotta add that one more screw.
So now we're only missing 8.
We lost all the screws for these clamps. I don't know what happened to them. Okay. I don't know that we're going to get out the door. The inherent problem with this type of gooseneck trailer in the middle is that the trailer is going to try to go in a straight line where you're going, whereas you're going around the corner. What are we going to do if I can't make the corner? Dun da da dun da da dun da 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 dun da da dun da da dun da da da. Plenty of room back there. Really bouncy. It's a little bendy still. There's me.
Whee! It does work good. It follows good.
It follows me. I thought it was going to be like cutting the corners, but it still follows.
Well, you can't turn sharp enough for it to...
It's really close too, though.
It is. When you hit the gas, that thing moves back and forth this far, like the bottom of it.
We got to stiffen it up yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good first test.
It's successful. Pretty cool.
If we had this thing on top of the Scorpion, I'd be able to take it anywhere, maneuver any direction, any which way.
Yeah.
That thing is awesome.
It is cool.
I want to see what it looks like from the outside. Let's pick up the trash while we're here. Somebody left their trash. Josh, you know what we should do?
You eat lunch?
We should make these trailers and mass produce them for people who can't back up trailers. Because it's impossible to mess up. No matter how you turn, you can never jackknife your trailer.
We're gonna have to sell them in universal roof mount hitches.
It's great. So I think this in combination with a rear steer buggy like the Scorpion would be where it's at. He's trying to get it in here, but the turning radius, the way that spins, it's not wanting to like kick over real fast. We could also put rear steer on the trailer itself, I guess, because it's impossible to mess up. Let me try it. I want to try it.
You're in a good start right here.
You've screwed up my driveway big time.
Oh, it's fine.
You had it for a second. Now I see why the idea didn't take off. It's really hard to maneuver.
Need more turning radius on the Comanche.
Or turning radius on the Comanche, or rear steer, or steerable axle on the trailer, and it'll be perfect.
Probably just have to learn how to drive it right, because it's screwing with trying to drive it like a regular trailer. And
you got to think ahead because of the pivot point. We're missing lunch. We'll be right back in a sec for you, but for us, we're gonna put this away for a minute. We're gonna bring out the Holy Grail, and we're actually gonna take the Holy Grail off-road Jaguar wrecker to a car show this weekend, a Jaguar car show. So that's gonna be interesting. Stay tuned for that video. We'll see you in a minute.